Yes, perfect. So, I assume you have been into the speaker training session?
I didn't manage to, sorry,
Ah,
no.
no,
So
okay.
give me a quick 3-minute version.
Okay, so basically, well, since you have a live presentation, it's pretty straightforward. So
Yeah.
the mic is okay, the camera is okay, and I'm gonna bring up the deck just
Mm-hmm.
to be sure
Mm-hmm.
that you can see it. Playlist, you have the deck over here. It's basically your PowerPoint deck. So you can maneuver this PowerPoint deck or with the arrow on your screen. Can you see the 1/18 with the arrow thing?
Uh,
At the bottom of the presentation, there's this arrow left and right, 1 slash
oh, that
18.
one. Okay, yes, I
Yes.
can see that. Yeah.
Try
So,
clicking those buttons. Yes. So
okay.
this is basically how you move the
Mm-hmm.
PowerPoint slides.
Mm-hmm.
Can you
Mm-hmm.
move a few more just to be sure? Okay, good. So I'm gonna move it back to. Oh, great.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna move it back to one,
Okay.
and then basically how the queue is 2 minutes before. What time is that in Singapore now? 2 minutes before 2 minutes before 10:30 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
The crowd will come in.
Mm-hmm.
So when the crowd comes in, I'm going to introduce you,
Mm-hmm.
and then I will just hand over the floor to you, and then
Mm-hmm.
make sure that your presentation is 20 minutes or not more than 20 minutes, so that we leave 10 minutes for Q&A.
Yep.
If you overshoot that, then there is no time for Q&A because everybody will jump to the next session.
Okay.
So try to time yourself for 20 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
and then I will actually remind you. If you look at the bottom right hand side, there's what we call the moderator chat. You have the room
Mm-hmm.
chat that is for everyone, and then
Mm-hmm.
you have the moderator chat where I can basically warn you about time. See, can you
Okay.
see
So,
that? Can you see that? So
yep.
that message is only for me and you, so nobody
Yeah.
else can see
Okay.
it.
Okay. Got it. Got it. All right.
And that's basically it. It's not that
Cool.
complicated.
Not too hard. Yeah.
Not too hard. Yeah.
And in here, can I edit my background so it's blurred behind me? Am I able to do that or
No, you
not?
can't yet do.
I
Yeah,
can't.
you can't. I can't.
So the
We can't
best
do
I
it
can
for you.
do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think it's pretty
it's
lovely
okay.
there. It's sunny and
Okay.
pretty lovely.
I was going to say, if it's a bit glary, I can pull the curtain across. So does
Yeah,
it
I
seem
see.
glary?
Yeah, I can see you quite well. I think it's fine.
All right. Okay.
You are based in Singapore, right?
I am, yeah.
Cool. How's the weather there? How's the restriction going on?
Uh, uh, up and down, and yeah, I think we're all very fatigued. Actually, it's gone a bit darker now, hasn't it? How did that happen?
Yeah,
Um,
it's darker now. Yeah, I don't know why.
yeah, because I just lifted my laptop up and then I put it down again.
Oh, now it's better.
Maybe,
Now it's better.
yeah.
Now it's better.
I won't touch it again then.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's well, we're now able to go out in groups of 5, provided we can prove we're from the same family. So it
Hmm.
just some of the rules get ridiculous, don't they? Whereabouts are you, Jasper?
Yeah, as you realize, I am a Singaporean, but I'm not in Singapore. I'm in Poland.
Oh wow.
So while there has been restriction also over here,
Yeah.
but seems like we are over the fatigue already, so nobody cares anymore. So we
Oh
just
dear.
go we just go about our business as usual. So we don't people that is quite relaxed about it. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not as panicky as in the Singapore government is here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
well, yeah.
But Poland's in the news for other reasons today.
Yeah, there's some migration stuff going on.
Yeah.
More political, more politics than pandemic.
Yeah. It's gotten darker again. Why? What can I do?
You can put some lights in front of you. Maybe some lamp or lights that you can put in front of you.
Yeah, that's true. All right. All right. I'm just going to step away because I think we've only got 1 minute. I just want to adjust my aircon.
Okay. Oh, it's better now. Oh, it's much better now.
Yeah, I think that's a bit better again
Yep,
now.
it's got brighter now. So welcome everyone who has just come in. We are 2 minutes before Lara's presentation. So Lara is actually based in Singapore. Um, she's the head of customer experience from Aviva Life. This is a recent merger, right? Aviva and Life, or
Yes, recent and still happening. In progress.
so is the whole group merged together, or is it a separate entity still?
That's a complicated one to answer, but what I'll just say is that that we work together. So we're sort of as a team of people, one organisation, but we still are operating under two brands until early next year, and that's when people will start to see a new entity.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, for those of you who are just came in, just a quick reminder that after the presentation there will be a live Q&A session. So we would like to encourage you to raise your hand. There's a little hand button on your screen, top right hand side of your screen, that you can raise your hand, and we can actually bring you live on the platform so that you can ask Lara questions just like you would do it in the conference setup. Alternatively, you can also drop your questions on the chat, so we will pick them up, and then Lara could answer that from there too. We are just about 1 minute to the presentation, so people are slowly coming in. Also, a quick message, also just a quick reminder that all the presentations are going to be recorded. So it will be the recordings will be available up to 6 months after the conference date. So don't worry if you miss any of the sessions. Right, so let's kick off. So today we have Lara Truelove. She's the head of customer experience at Aviva Life. She's passionate about living and breathing human-centered design, listening to and making meaning of customer stories, and working with teams to make experiences better for the people. She has more than 20 years experience in insights and consulting in Asia Pacific, and she's based in Singapore. So with that, I will hand over the floor to Lara. She'll be speaking on understanding the consumers better through mixed research methodologies. Lara,
Yes.
please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jasper, and hi, everybody. Really appreciate this opportunity to talk to you today about what we're doing at Aviva Life, and a little bit about our approach and why we love using mixed methods and how it's working for us. I thought a great place to kick off would just be to share at a very high level the context in terms of why we're fans of using many different methods and using different approaches within the same project or the same initiative. I think that the first one really is around listening. You know, it always comes down to being able to listen well and to really understand what's going on in the lives of the people that we serve. And sometimes things are a little bit one-dimensional. So we're trying to get to more layers. We're trying to get more dimensions in that topic area. And we're also trying to get more personal. And sometimes that takes repeated conversations or repeated or many different angles of lenses and filters of looking into a topic. So we feel that this helps us to listen better. It also helps us to see the bigger picture. So there are, you know, as I'll share in a moment, sort of two rhythms for us. One is that there's always specific topics and specific needs that have an urgency around them that we're looking into. But, you know, we want to constantly bring that back to the big picture and understand that, you know, that the space, the area, the need, the problem holistically. So every single thing that we do adds another brick into that wall, you know, another piece into that jigsaw puzzle. So mixed methods help us to have those two rhythms and to be cumulative. And the third one is the type of artifacts and the type of material that we can gather from some of the mixed methods we use. They really help us to be better at conveying the customer story, at conveying the narrative, and sort of getting people getting the people that we want to influence more engaged and more committed to making change. It's more invitational. So that's at a high level the reasons why we don't do focus groups, we don't do interviews, we do a lot of asynchronous. We use diary studies and tasks and observations, just so many different types of qualitative methods, of course, with quant as well. So now to get into this in a little bit more depth, one of our principles is that we really have a duty of care as the customer experience and insights team for our organisation. We have a duty of care to make things better for people, for humanity, for the people we serve in Singapore or wherever they are, and to do that by ensuring that we're not just scraping the surface, but that we're really going deep. And we're thinking not just about today, but we're thinking about tomorrow. We're even thinking about the past as well. We've realised that things have gotten more complex, and that getting that depth is getting harder and harder. So I think about it like this, that once upon a time, we used to think about launching a product and making that product successful in its own right, so a singularity, if you like. But now we think about how an ecosystem can be of benefit, or how an ecosystem can meet the needs of the people that we serve. We used to think about individual entities, but we now see that there's assemblies of things, that there's groups of things, the ecosystems once again. And we realise as well that whereas in the past things used to be quite fixed for some period of time, cultural factors might stay unchanged, be quite entrenched. But today things are changing very, very quickly. Particularly, in COVID and post-COVID times, because of all the adjacencies in different industries that affect your industry, because of globalization and the influence of other cultures and other markets on the one that you're focused on. So this plurality, emergence and so forth, it means that there's more complexity and there's more contradictions. So the universalities that we once were very stable and we were comfortable with, we have to kind of let them go and be open-minded to things changing all the time. So in this context, thinking that we can get anywhere close to the truth in one interaction, or thinking that we can ask people to explain something to us and share their thinking, and for that to be anything resembling the truth or the reality of the situation, to us is erroneous. We can't do that. And hence the idea, the importance of using many different methods to understand the topic or the situation. I think, just in the area, or what helps us to understand from singularity to plurality, from simplicity to complexity, is really to keep focusing on understanding people's mental models. So, in that regard, we do a lot of work to understand the grounding beliefs and the context in which different people are operating in. So as an example, we have here 3 different mindsets or 3 different thinking styles. Let's just call, persona 1 Ivan, persona 2 May, and persona 3 Daniel. So all of these people are potentially consumers, potentially in Singapore, in another country, and they're all striving towards progress in their personal finances. But the way that they're doing that is very different because of the grounding beliefs that they have, because of their context. So for example, in Ivan's case, it's all about accountability, and he is heavily influenced and heavily grounded by the way that his parents have instilled responsibility and accountability to him. But what's really driving him is that he wants to be a better money coach than his parents were. And we can see here that the aspects such as rules, forcing himself to have a savings plan, being concerned about every little bit, this notion that he has of being a protective sacrificer is very, very different from, let's say, May, who is really striving towards an individuality, and doing it herself. She's all about taking risks. For her, it's a race for her, and she was comparing herself to others and seeing how is she going? Is she being left behind? For her, success and progress in personal finances is being completely in the know always and being the expert. And so her progress and what's driving her founding belief is that she will need to craft things herself. She will need to have complete ownership of her money herself. And so continuing to build this picture of these different types of thinking and these different founding beliefs is what we're doing all the time. How do we get there? We may not get there through one big generative exploratory study, but through project A and then project B and then project C. So this is the cumulative sort of understanding that I was referring to. The reason why we're working that way is because in the landscape of the work that we do to understand people, to understand consumers, there's always a pull towards the more evaluative type of projects. Not sure if it's like that for you, but the next launch of a website, the next launch of an app experience, the next product, the next iteration, there's always an urgency to that. So user interviews, feedback on how we're going today, concept tests. This is the bread and butter and the things that we need to do as a CX and an insights team all the time. They're answering, should we do this? How are we performing? What progress are we making? Are we doing better? What do people need? Is it better to launch it with this value proposition or that value proposition? And so, that's trumping all the time. But of course, with that duty of care to make things better for people at depth, not just at surface, it's not just about, is this the better widget or that the better widget? What we need to do is we need to constantly bring everybody else into that space of how important generative research is, and that rather than just doing a concept test here, why don't we start that with more of a contextual study? Why don't we do some observations first? Why don't we understand, the problem space? What are people going through in their lives before we jump in and resolve it with a solution? Yes, we don't always get to do those big generative studies that we'd like to do over on the left-hand side to get to depth, but we find a way. We find a way to do that. So let's just have a little look at how. So here is 3 project examples. The first project is really was a deep look at health. So it's around how people think about health. It's about how health insurance works for them, about how using health insurance is working for them, and bigger picture health issues. So in that particular project, there was not one method. There were multiple methods. So we talked to people first during preparatory tasks, which might involve them sharing with us some answers to specific questions, some pictures, some projective techniques, and so forth. We then did do remote interviews, have a talk also to staff to find out, what have you been hearing from customers that you talk to, then using some quantitative to understand some of these themes that we're seeing, how big are they, what could be driving those, and then back to more remote interviews as well. So it's not one piece of field work, it's multiple pieces of field work to get us to where we want to land. And then 2 different projects looking more broadly at personal finances. And in here, we've really enjoyed and are very grateful to be using asynchronous qualitative platforms. There's a lot of them out there, but the idea of setting up tasks for people, for the participants, where again we're using projective techniques. We can use card sorts. We can use in-system or on-platform interviews, group interviews. We can have light quant in there as well. So we've used a lot of those different types of capabilities, and in Project A we used it both at the beginning as well as at the end, and indeed with the same group of people that we started with. So Project B, looking a little bit more at things like card sorts, people recording videos. So we can't always go into people's homes or into the street to do observations, but we can get them to upload video recordings for us. And then, of course, some quantitative as well, using some of our in-house capabilities. So these would be some of the typical mixed methods that we're using all the time, and we want to be speaking to people all the time. If a fortnight goes by and we haven't been doing some sort of field work, getting to know people, understanding what their challenges or how we're meeting them, then it's a poor reflection on us. So continuous, agile, talking to people all the time is very much our modus operandi. So these are all the different approaches that we've been using, and I guess a little bit on why do we see atypical or asynchronous qualitative being such a big part of our approach these days. Well, we take inspiration from Larry King here, who said, "I never learned anything while I was talking." And what we tend to find is through focus groups and through depth interviews, paired interviews, triads, etc., we still spend a lot of time talking, and we just want to create as much space as possible for the people that we want to understand to be talking to us. And we've realised that that sometimes when there is a firewall, when there is a screen between you and the person that you're trying to talk or trying to listen to, it can be very fortuitous, that there can be more opening up, there can be more heart to heart, even the back and forth dialogue of interacting, moderating asynchronously can be quite compelling, quite fascinating, and yield a lot for us. So it really is for us a case of not just talk, video, face to face, but also very much around looking at the pictures and being able to deconstruct and understand where people are coming from by matching up what they're telling us, what they're typing or what they're sharing in their words with the pictures that they're providing to us. There's a lot that we can decode from that. So here is just an example where we're talking to people about how they manage their money, and we've asked them essentially to draw a mind map. We've used a lot of different techniques. Please draw us this, please draw us that. How do you think about it? Which parts of this are working well for you, which parts of this are not working well for you, and so on. And again, we start to see in the way that people draw the mental model or the mind map, it tells us a lot about their approach to personal finances and what they're striving for, just as an example there. So it then comes to lots and lots of data, and that's one of the elements of this topic today that we're talking about. Is mixed methods are great. They give us if we can stack them up within a project, we can come in and see things from different lenses, different filters. But then we've got literally a mountain of data. How do we handle it? What do we do with it? So essentially, what we've realised, another principle, is that this sense making, when we have these mixed method inputs, it's up to us. It is a human endeavour. We have experimented with some quite advanced text analysis tools. We have played around with different platforms, and we've just found that whilst it does get you a little bit of the way there, it doesn't get you all of the way there, because essentially our role is as storytellers. We need to immerse ourselves into the stories of people to be able to make sense of them and to be able to bring that richness through to the story that we then curate and pass on to our colleagues, to the people that we're influencing to make things better for people. So yes, the sense making is still up to us, using all of the typical approaches that you'd be familiar with. So our two operating rhythms that I mentioned earlier is that we'll always focus on the work, the project, the task itself first. So whether that was a user testing, whether it was feedback on post a product launch, whether it's around understanding end-to-end journeys, whatever it might be, tackle that in its own right, and as a group put together our understanding, generate our findings and our insights and report out on that. But we have a rhythm that we frequently take all of that and merge it into or bring it over to what we call our key 6 problem spaces. So the problem spaces, 3 of them, for example, are how people think about growing their money. So in the topic area of, going from low yielding savings to investing, from different investing strategies, robo advice, all the different things that people are looking at these days in growing money, and their mental models for how to grow their money is the first space. The second space is how people make financial decisions. It's the how they set goals, how they manage their strategies, where they get inspiration from. And then a third one is, for example, managing everyday money. So, things like making your spending work harder, honouring obligations, being a prudent tracker of your money, etc. So we will do a concept test on some new feature that might be in an app, but at the same time, because of the context that we wrap around it and the different methods that we're using, we learn so much more. We honour the work and report out on that, but then at the same time, we'll do a pass and look at what we've learned and how can we augment or improve our knowledge within that problem space on the right-hand side. After we've done that, we've generated more themes, more tags, more understanding. That means next time we have a specific project, we're able to bring that over and use it on the left-hand side there, back into the work. So the ways of working to do this, we collaborate together. We'll hop onto Mural and we'll always use a centralized resource so that we can put all of our themes and tags together. And as a team, we're able to go in at any time into those problem spaces and look at specific tags, look at specific topics, and pull out more insights to go into some strategy or decision-making effort. So the last principle that I wanted to share is really around what we do with all of this. So we, as insights professionals, customer experience professionals, UX professionals, etc., we're all seeking to understand people, and we want to do that at depth, not just at surface. But all of that understanding is absolutely pointless if we can't influence others to make change. We must make what we're learning and the point of view that we have developed, we must make it stick. And so that's where it comes to the storytelling part of things. As Bren Brown said, maybe stories are just data with a soul. So we consciously don't just read out or report on the data, whether it's qualitative or quantitative. We always take it to the next level. And the next level for us is providing an analogy, a metaphor, or an overarching wrapper, a theme that people will remember. For example, we've likened health insurance, and in particular health insurance in Singapore, in a way to getting onto a train with different carriages, and you're never going to get off that train. It's a decision that you make almost for life. We've likened another situational problem to the different rooms in a house. And we've likened another situation or opportunity to a journey with different steps along the way, or even eschewing that journey and taking a different path. So it's not enough, in our opinion, just to talk about or just to have a narrative about the people. Of course, we want to do that, but we have to go beyond that and have a narrative wrapper that people will remember and that will influence them. It's a call to action. Sorry. So as an example, we've had people come back to us and say, I still remember that presentation that you made months ago. It's like you said, it's a long train. I can't get that image out of my head. Or after you shared what you did around that particular topic, it made me think, what if we could listen or transcribe the diagnosis right then? So we've got tech, we've got product, we've got marketing, we've got all of our colleagues in different areas latching onto these big ideas about how things could be different in the future. So not enough just to share the consumer story. We also need to, to push forward and turn that into a real narrative. Okay, and so to wrap things up, the last part that was really part of this topic today is around how do we do more? How do we go faster? How do we go quicker? How do we go cheaper? Well, I'm sorry, there is no silver bullet for this. This is very much around putting the building blocks in place, and that's something that we've started on this journey. I wouldn't say that we've finished, but the big challenges that we all, in this sector would always have is recruitment is hard, right? Finding the right sort of person to fit the profile, and all of the painful sort of incentivizing and payments and sort of getting participants to contribute. The tooling, there's so many new platforms out there now. If you just go to insightplatforms.com, you're going to find a truckload of them, and they're coming through all the time. So choosing the right ones and actually using all of the features as well. Repository, I've been in this game for a long time, and knowledge is always a challenge. So you have to have a way that there's a discipline, and that everyone brings things back into that knowledge repository, and that you close the loop, and that you keep resurfacing insights as well. The standards, we're on a path to democratization and getting more people to be able to do things themselves. But that comes, with accountability as well. So having playbooks and building skills, ensuring that we're complying, having that, that supervision of it as well, and having a whole community as well. As we democratize, as more people are involved in understanding consumers, then we have to evolve our skills, evolve the practice, have clarity on where we're investing our time, and make sure that we're spending it well. So I just want to wrap up by saying thank you. That's just a little bit of a look into mixed methods being very important to us, some of the ways that we're doing it, and how we're planning to do more faster and cheaper, in the year ahead. Yeah, I would invite any questions.
Great. Thank you very much, Laura, for the presentation.
Okay, I think Pamela's asked, what are the best async softwares you have used?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, let me rephrase it in a different way. Let's say, how do you select or choose the software that's suitable for your project? What are your criteria of choosing a software?
Our main criteria is that we can run it ourselves, that we're not dependent on anyone. So we have been on a path to build a lot of in-house capability. I want the IP to stay within our business as much as we can. There are times when that's not the case, and we need a lot of external support, and we really value the sparring and the intellectual augmentation of what our team has and is able to offer. But yeah, we'll pretty much look at can we understand this software? Can we skill build to manage it ourselves? Does the organisation have a roadmap where they're going to be adding and building it out? And are they here to stay?
Great.
Yeah.
We have just under 4 minutes left for question. I have a question. I hope that it's not too complex. You talked a lot about this on your presentation. There's many iterations. So from personas through the different methods. So I was wondering, on one of your diagrams, you have diaries, listening, ethnography, which is more on the qual side. And then you have intercept surveys on the quant side, and then you have a little bit of a usability testing on the kind of UX side. So I was wondering, what are the iterations among these three? Do you put more weight on a certain method?
Yes, we do, and it depends on the project. So there was one in particular where we put a more of a weighting on the asynchronous qualitative preparatory tasks for younger people, where we wanted to understand their complete thinking, or their complete personal finance ecosystem. And then we had more of a light touch interview and iteration after that. On the other hand, if where we already have a very good grounding and we really understand the context quite well, we have put a higher weighting on interviews, because it just felt we were missing something. We haven't got the complete story here. We've got a lot of question marks. So, we're only going to get to the bottom of this. Famously in our team, one participant seem to be very disengaged into their personal finances and seem to have a very low ownership of different products. And then once we jumped on a call with him and had a proper depth interview, we realized that he was completely invested in cryptocurrency and was spending, 15 hours a day trading and, all the other things that you do with cryptocurrency. So actually he was right off the charts, quite an outlier. It just hadn't come through from all of his answers in the earlier steps. So yes, we've learned along the way that it is prudent to iterate. It is prudent to look at these different angles of a person. And yeah, we design accordingly. But the weightage definitely depends on what do we know on that topic and what do we know about those people. It's got to the point where we have understood some of our personas so deeply that they're like our friends. We're very intimately acquainted with them. Yeah.
Okay, we have only time for one last question from Brenda. How important is human emotions towards getting the right engagement from your consumers?
I think emotions in the actual experience that you're delivering in real life is really important. But I have a different reaction when it comes to understanding people. So in this work of consumer understanding, it's good to get emotions, but sometimes I'm seeing emotions in text, I'm seeing it in responses, I'm seeing it on video in different ways. So I would just caution that I'm not looking for for them to be feeling a lot of pride or a lot of sadness or a lot of any of the other emotions in their interactions with me through the research process. I'm looking for truth, and that's coming through in different channels and different ways. What tools? Yeah, and the last one, what tools are we using to decode them? So we essentially, as a team, take all of the data that we have. Let's just talk about qualitative for a moment. We take all of the data that we have and we bring that into Mural or Miro. So we're using a digital whiteboard and people. It's human powered. It's like, we noticed this about this persona, or we noticed this about this pain point, or we noticed this about this problem space. So because we're all remote these days, and it's probably going to stay that way, we have to get very, very proficient at using that method of human understanding or human collaboration, but using these sorts of digital tools. So that's the main way that we do it. And then we put everything into our what do you call it? Centralized record, our centralized resource. Yeah. Online.
Great, Laura. Thank you very much. You're right on time.
Okay.
So, thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Take care, everybody. Bye.
Great, ladies and gentlemen, we reached to the end of this session. Please leave this session and now join the next session by Brandwatch. They're going to talk about how can businesses use digital customer intelligence to tap into the insights of consumer data. So please leave this room and then go back to your agenda and click on the next session. See you on the other side.